So, I've completed the second season of The Witcher on Netflix. And although between the two seasons, it's probably not as good as the first one, but I found it to be rather enjoyable and a fairly decent follow up to the previous season. The storytelling structure is very different in that the first season was this business of jumping between different points in time without really being completely clear as to what time, where the characters were in relation to one another, where they were, and eventually it all comes together at the end, and so you see how it unfolds and all that. And in a way, it makes sense that you wouldn't do that again in the following season, because everything came together at the end of last season. And so the Witcher finally meets up with little Princess Ciri, and so there you are, and that's what you get here. She's in his care, and he's teaching her some things, and of course she's young and impatient and all that. Although not as young as she was before, she is growing fast. But hey, that happens. You have to say, well, they've been riding around for a while in between seasons. And the rest of it is more of the same. You have the drama, you have love and loss and all this stuff, and then once again the characters are more or less split up, as they were only this time not across timelines or what have you, if you will. But and then eventually at the end they do get back together, and then there's elements of betrayal and love and heartbreak and all this, and Yennefer has yet another horrendous story to go through after everything she suffered. But ultimately it's forming it up to where basically Geralt and Yennefer are basically the new parents for Ciri, and all of that. So there's more to the lore that is revealed there, and of course the Wild Hunt. That's one of those things. Is like it's interesting, and it echoes of the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse and whatnot. You actually see them in this season, and all of that, which wasn't all that spectacular, to tell you the truth. It was kind of cheaply done on green screen. Kind of an earlier vision they did of them was a little bit better, but hopefully they'll spruce that up later on. But that's the thing about something like the Wild Hunt. It recalls the Night King and all that in Game of Thrones, and then the payoff was just nothing. It just, jeez. So hopefully a Wild Hunt will do a lot better. But other than that, I thought it was fine. I thought it was pretty good. I guess it did get kind of slow here and there, but I mean, it's only 8 episodes, and it follows the struggles between the two, and then him constantly trying to protect her, and oddly enough, some forensics going on where he's investigating what's revealed in this. So I'm not going to spoil everything. But that's how it works. And then I guess like the fact that they were separated throughout most of the season, well, I guess that would be spoiling if I put it that way. But so that there's some similarities between that and the previous season. It's just not the time differential between them. So now, again, I have not played the video games. I have not read the novels based on this. All I know is the show, and of course, I'd read articles about it, the rest of the lore and other media and all that. So, people who were fans of all that, this probably isn't a completely loyal adaptation, because nothing ever is when it comes to these TV shows and films of popular, whether it's a video game or novels and comic books or what have you. It's almost impossible to get it perfect, but so I don't know. Maybe it's too far afield from it in some areas, but for what it is within the context of itself, I enjoyed it. There were warnings that like the first season was a bait and switch, so the second season, that's when you're going to get all the woke stuff. I'm just not seeing it there. I suppose some of the casting choices here and that sort of thing, since it's supposed to be this based on, what is it, Polish lore or something like folklore and stuff like that. Yeah, but these are just superficial elements as far as plot goes and character development and all of that. I think they're actually doing a pretty good job of it, because I've seen woke crap. And this just isn't it. The other thing, I guess, would be that it centers around a very special girl. And that's, because that's been a template for a lot of different woke projects or what have you. But the plot point in and of itself is not what's bad. It's the execution of it and handling of it. And so far, I mean, it's 2 seasons in, I'm not seeing Geralt being cut down and made a fool of and beat down by the women, and they solve everything, and he's an idiot and stumbles around. If but for them, everything would have gone horribly wrong. No, there's none of that in there. I think he's, nope, they didn't Last Jedi him or anything like that, so far anyway, So I've seen other criticisms of the second season, and some of that saying it's not as spectacular as the first one and stuff like that, and I can understand what their point there, and they're not entirely wrong. I do think the first season's better, but I don't see this as a failure or anything, and I definitely don't see anything woke there, because I mean, if the business of Ciri being so important and core to the plot, well, that's what she was in the first season too. So and again, I don't know if that's really the story from the original material, and if that's the case, then I guess there's stuff in here you're not going to like, depending on how married you are to how it's presented. If it's really, really far afield, then I take the point. It's like, then why do it? But somebody coming into it fresh, as myself, not knowing the other stories and just seeing the artwork from the games and whatnot in the novels and stuff like this, and well, it looks pretty close. I mean, now Ciri was very young, so maybe that was different. Maybe she was much older. She looks older in the video game graphics and whatnot. But boy, that guy who is, I guess it was the original mentor to Geralt, Vesemir, and I saw some of the graphics, I assume from the video game, and the actor playing is almost a dead ringer for the guy. So, I mean, it's like, hey, sometimes they get it right and sometimes they don't. They recast for whatever reason. But all in all, I thought it was a pretty decent, good follow-up to the previous one. There's a lot of mystery and whatnot, but the ultimate plot for this season of saving Ciri from the danger she's in is pretty much fulfilled. Of course, it opens up new possibilities going into the future for what's ahead of them, and hopefully they have a good payoff for all of this promise of the looming disaster that they have to defend against. But the rest of it, the interplay of what's going on, and that's the similarities with Game of Thrones, where there was all these machinations going on between power struggles and whatnot, and you have the elves in here being a group of people who are being oppressed by humans and whatnot, and they're being manipulated for other purposes, which is probably not going to go very well. But they want the war for gaining of power and what have you. And there's a big reveal at the end and all of that. These elves are not the powerful angelic figures from the Lord of the Rings. They're just apparently they're very special, but other than the ears, not really seeing it. Although there is some evidence of certain powers and magic that they have, so there is that, and that flows through with some of these people who are of mixed race between human and elves and whatnot. So all of that's pretty good stuff, and there's twists and turns here and all of that. But it's the same idea where this overwhelming, supernatural force is threatening everybody, but they're all divided and fighting amongst themselves over power of the land and what have you. So very similar to Game of Thrones, but it is played out in this sort of alternate world European medieval fantasy, which is what happened those days. Just wars and backstabbing alliances and manipulation for centuries. So you got to expect it. So anyway, I recommend it. I think it's pretty good. But I guess there's other reasons for people have, but I'm not seeing arguments of that it went woke or something. That's just not there. I don't see that. There is this problem of woke shell shock that I call it, where you get a slightest whiff of it and that's it, I'm done. And I can understand the attitude. I can, because there's been so much of that, just destroying franchises and whatnot. And so you get a little what you think it might be, and that's it. You're turned off, and you can't enjoy it anymore. And it's sad, but that's the damage that wokedom has done to popular entertainment. So, but it's unfair, too, to people who were not intending that and didn't do it. So just because, the special girl is special in the heart of it all, that's not enough of a reason to declare this a wokeified a version of The Witcher. So there you go. Yes, not as good as the first season, but still pretty good. So I enjoyed the second season of The Witcher and do recommend it. So check it out. Thanks for watching and listening. Say, while you're still here, why not like and subscribe and share with your many friends? Yes. Also, check out my mini stores in the link description below. Yes, where you can get t-shirts, hats, mugs, all those goodies with my artwork on them. Oh, yeah. And head over to indieplanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book, Night Night. Oh, yeah. You can also catch me at my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, on RadioMisfits.com. And you can also watch my videos on BitChute.com and now on Rumble.com. Oh my goodness, so many places to watch me and my stuff. Oh yeah. And if that's not enough for you, well, you can follow me on many social media platforms and say hi to your old pal, Mr. Nailsin.